Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Fee MacDonald. I am one of 3 Associate Artistic Directors here at Queensland Theatre. I look after the Education and Young People's team. Thank you for joining us for the play briefing for Dear Brother. Before we go much further, I'd like to hand this microphone to my friend and colleague Isaac Drandic to acknowledge the country we're on tonight.
Hello everyone. Before we kick off, to make things official, I'd like to just acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Yugara and Jugara and Turrbal people of southeast Queensland. It's an absolute privilege to be here tonight. It's an absolute privilege to be telling stories on this country, stories that have existed here for thousands of generations, and we consider ourselves absolutely privileged and very lucky to continue to contribute to the rich storytelling place where we're at tonight, Kurilpa. I'd like to pay respects to the country first and foremost, and to the elders that have looked after this country for millennia, and also any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that are here tonight. Hello, one person up there. Yeah, there might be some others in disguise out there, but yeah. Welcome, thanks.
Thanks, Isaac. Some housekeeping. Note that we are recording this evening's play briefing. You've agreed to your voice and image being recorded by being in this room tonight as per the signage in the foyer. If you have any concerns, please chat with our front of house staff. Also, as we come to Q&As, we will be repeating all of your questions into the microphone so that the people watching at home later can hear the questions really clearly. A note, please no photos or videos of your own in this space. We are recording, so you get to watch it back later. And just a general thank you. Thank you for being here with us on a Monday evening. Thank you to our subscribers, visionaries, our legends and our sponsors. You are what keeps us going at Queensland Theatre. Thank you for your patronage and support. We're very excited to offer you a sneak peek into the world of Dear Brother. Can I also take this moment to thank our co-presenters at BlakDance and Brisbane Festival for making this work with us. So, without further ado, I would like to take a moment for all of these gorgeous artists to introduce themselves to all of you, and then I'll give you a synopsis of the play before we go into some questions. Over to you, Isaac.
Hello, I'm Isaac Drandic. I'm the director of the work you're about to see, or hear about, rather. I'm a Noongar man from the southwest of Western Australia. Born and bred over there, currently based in Cairns. My other role is at Queensland Theatre as Head of First Nations Theatre.
Hello, my name is Waninga Blanco. I am the choreographer and I reside in Byron Bay in the Ruckwill Lands, and my mob are from far northern Queensland, Bajinka-Wick, Western Cape, and Murri and Mare, people of Murri Island in the Torres Strait. Yo.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Mazza. I'm a proud Medium man, Kormet and Zagreb tribes from the Torres Strait as well. Also Yirinji and Biragaba, and also a Tana man of the South Sea Islands. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's Tibian Wyles. I'm one of the co-writers with on Dear Brother. I'm a Gidame Wagrame man from far north Queensland, up near just before you hit the rainforest area, leading up towards Cairns, where that part, and then also my grandmother was moved around through the missions, so Palm Island and Cherbourg, or also known as Baramba, and I forgot what the other one was called. But yeah, so we got moved around, so we got a lot of connections all over Queensland, and yeah, and I'm also. Do we say we were playing? No.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, I'll be playing one of the characters' names Destin in the show.
And you're a co-writer.
And I'm a co-writer again. Yeah.
Jerinyora, Nawa Jabakanji Dial. Now, Malam Garani, Bagaram Jabagai Bomba, Now Leonard. Hello? I am a Jabugai man, and I'm from the rainforest area up in far north Queensland in Coranda, from the Jabugai country, and my name is Leonard. I'm one of the co-writers, and I also play one of the other characters in the show known as Ezra.
Hi, my name's Kevin O'Brien, descendant of the Curragh and Miriam. We believe we're infiltrated by the Irish as well. I'm an architect, and on this I'm the set designer.
I'm Delvine Cockatoo Collins, Cornamuka artist from Induraba, North Strawbrook Island. I'm here as a costume designer, being beautifully mentored by the Queensland Theatre Company in-house designer, Nat Raynor.
Hello, my name's David Walters. A great change, I'm the odd one out here tonight. I have a mere 5 generations of this country and go back to Irish, Scottish, Welsh and French ancestry. I'm the lighting designer for this piece.
Hello, I'm Brendan Boney. I'm a Wiradjuri and Gilroy man. I grew up in a town called Wagga Wagga. I currently am based in another town called Edlong Beach in New South Wales, and I am the sound designer and composer for this show.
Just, I always forget to do this, but I have to acknowledge my father's side as well, Croatian, hence the surname Drandic.
Thanks, Isaac. And I'm like David, I've only got a mere 5 gens here, and I've got some German, Scottish and Irish heritage in me. So before we open up to questions, I wanted to give you a synopsis of the work so that you know exactly what we're diving into. So in Dear Brother, we meet 3 young First Nations men and a spirit guide who represents the embodiment of multiple older Indigenous male figures, all played by the incredible Uncle Kelton Pell, that guide the younger men. Lenny Donahue plays Ezra, Benjamin Mazza plays Jazz, Tibian Wyles plays Destin. The work starts with an introduction to Jazz and Ezra, somewhere up north, and the relationships they hold and the differing influences of their family members. For Jazz, there is intense pressure from his dad for perfection, to work, to be a man, to escape the past he has fought for his family, and a talent that remains hidden with gentle guidance from his mum. For Ezra, with dance moves that could take him anywhere, his family encourages him to step up as a father, to connect and support despite the difficulties across relationships. Both are led to an art school here in Brisbane where they meet Destin, the too cool for school actor, wrestling with his own demons and familial disconnection. Each of them filled with the need to escape, to make something of their lives, to just defy the hand that life has dealt them. They're caught between adolescence and adulthood. These young fellas will converge and wrestle with themselves, with each other, their ghosts, and a deep-etched sense of duty to country. Together they'll lay themselves bare and bond as brothers over what it means to be a young Aboriginal man in 2024. This high-energy work is giving today's young Murri men a voice, one that challenges the narrative around public perceptions of Aboriginal masculinity. Using dance, music and poetry, this form-defying work is a tour de force performance that is as physical as it is heartfelt. Can I take a moment also to acknowledge there's some people not on our stage with us tonight. The incredible Kelton Pell will also be performing and playing all of those multiple senior roles. We have the gorgeous Sophia, who is our Auslan interpreter over there tonight. Thanks, Sophia. As Delvine mentioned, we have Nat Raynor supporting us with mentorship on costumes. We have our stage manager, Sarah Connolly, ASM Sophie Watkins, and we have Will Hughes as a sound design realiser to make this full contingent, plus our incredible production team, our front of house team, our bar staff, and all the producing and programming crew up the back there. I see you, who are working their butts off. So, are we ready for some questions, crew? They've only been in rehearsals for 8 hours. They're fresh as daisies, I promise. Tibbs and Lenny, I'm going to throw over to you first as co-writers. You started this work a long time ago as a collective known as Excelsior. Can you tell us a little about how the work has come about, what the story is about in your own words, and who has been on this journey with you.
Yeah, so the journey started as a dance group known as Excelsior, where we focused on contemporary dancing fused with our cultural and also hip-hop styles of movement and dance space. A part of that dance group, I'd like to shout out to Joshua Thade, Benjamin Creek, Jeremy Ambrom, Sydney Naria, Mandaway Dutton as well. So in 2018, we got approached by BlakDance to put together funding to have a creative development to try and produce a full-length show. And within those discussions, we touched on a few certain topics that we want to bring to light and bring to the stage, such as toxic masculinity, racism, and also the mental health issues that we as young Indigenous men has to go through within today's society, but also navigating these two worlds of having a background within culture and also navigating the society of today's statistics. Sorry, my brain is a bit fried. So yeah, it started back then, and we just continued to do developments where ideas kept growing, kept providing more information about what we wanted to tell the story about. By the time we finished our second large creative development with the dance group, we decided to try and focus on creating actual characters, bringing life and giving names to these characters, and focus on their story arcs so these characters have their own journey that we can bring to life on the stage as well.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, that was all through. Shout out to BlakDance, who supported us from the very first kind of first developments, where they were a bit smaller, didn't know what we were doing, but we knew that we had something there. And so yeah, BlakDance kind of helped us all the way through, and still is supporting us here, especially as with Queensland Theatre as well. So yeah, big thanks to that. And also Benjamin was also a part of Excelsior as well. My bad. I've totally forgotten again.
Perfect. Good segue, straight to you, Benji. Benj, can you talk a little about the significance of a work like this, a work built from within community, and how it feels to be a key collaborator on it?
Oh, certainly. The importance of this work is abysmal. Letting the black man tell his own story. Because, from the get-go of this country, our voice was taken away from us. And for us to explain who we are in words that you'll understand, or movement you'll understand, is important. To quote my grandfather, Bob Mazza, let the black man tell the black man's story. And that's why it's so important. And we've always had something to say. And we wouldn't necessarily have done it, well, I know personally me, if I didn't do performing arts. Because I can do it through song or dance or movement, this gives us another platform for an insight into our lives and see the world through our lens. Yeah, it's a blessing to be a part of this production. Alongside my brothers here that we all studied at the Aboriginal Centre for the Performing Arts. Moving away from home, like I'm Rocky, grew up in Rockhampton, Townsville, Coranda. To come down here and, to be given a platform is, I'm speechless at times to be able to do what we do.
I can guarantee you are not speechless when you were in the show, and you are quite a triple threat bench when you're on stage, and it is super exciting to see this work coming to the stage. And we are sitting on the incredible set of Kevin O'Brien. Kevin, can I ask you, can you tell us a bit about this set that you've designed to support these performers to tell this gorgeous story?
Sure, yeah. So the set, I guess, came out of obviously the script and conversations with Isaac. There's no sort of set times for those conversations, but it's been going on for the last few months, and the primary idea of it was to be in the service of the idea of the script. So if the script's ultimately about some kind of transition from boys to being men, then the set had to support that or make the kind of spaces it needed. So the thinking was that there's 3 aspects to it. So one's this idea of terrain, and within the terrain there's 3 levels. So within 3 levels, if you've got people in 3 points, they make a triangle, and it implies a centre, which puts an energy into that space. The second is an idea of threshold, and the threshold is made by these poles that are sort of, I guess, implying coming out of, I guess, more of a forest setting where, you know, everything starts to change, light, shadow. It's that sort of in-between space. And then the third's the doorway, which is, I guess, very clearly about an idea of either coming from somewhere or going to another place. So those 3 things just became evident, you know, reading, rereading, watching the script develop, and then watching the guys sort of start to play in the space. And then I got the great opportunity to work with David with the lighting, and that's just taken it to a whole other level. So what you're going to see happen with the light here is takes on a sort of an ephemeral quality, but it's I can't wait to see it. Should be good.
Me too. Can I throw to you while we're down and talking about lighting, David? Can you give us any insights? I mean, you're one of the most incredible dramaturgically inclined lighting designers. You go so deeply into the script and the story and the meaning. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're playing with on this set and with this work?
Yeah, sure. I have a habit of pinning directors down when I first meet them and say, OK, what's it about? give it to me in a sentence. And Isaac went one better than that. He actually gave it to me in a word. And in many ways that exemplifies his very clear, clean ideas about this. He said it's forgiveness. And that certainly sums up this story in a word. But forgiveness is not something you can light per se, but the nature of forgiveness is transformation, and lighting is extremely useful in generating transformation. And there's a number of ways we're transforming this set. One of the aspects of the script when you read it is that there's an ethereal world, an other world, a world of spirits and ancestors that play a very vital role in the storytelling. And so it's important to be able to sort of create other worlds within this world. And when Kevin presented me with a large black backdrop for a lighting designer who could also be known as a shadow designer, that was like a blank canvas. And so the black backdrop becomes a way of creating other worlds. And in this particular instance, we're looking at a starscape, but not any ordinary starscape. It's a starscape that embodies a particular constellation that comes from North Queensland. It's a creation myth from North Queensland called the Stars of Tagai. And the other form of transformation within this is that the play begins in a world of the natural world of North Queensland and then moves down to Brisbane. So we're looking for ways for using Kevin's topographical space here and potentially tree trunks to create a world of the rainforests of northern Queensland. But then when we come to Brisbane, we want it to look more like cityscapes and pavements and towers and high-rises. And lighting can certainly look at that kind of transformation. And then there's the kind of motifs for each of the dancers, and working with the choreographer and also Delvine, and finding ways of telling these 3 separate stories that go on this journey of boys to men and finding brotherhood. How's that?
Beautiful and incredible. Also, you can't see what I can see, which is about 50 footlights here. So I think the shadow play is definitely going to come into fruition. And it's a great segue to the question I wanted to ask you, Brendan, our sound designer and composer. So this work takes us to a lot of different places, both geographically and emotionally, and wondering how your sound design is punctuating the locations, the moments, and integrating with all of these incredible design elements.
Yeah, sure. We're not really being very literal in a geographic sense. We're kind of, I mean, a lot of the time we've been, I've just been following the energy of the guys in the room, and so I would throw something out, and then they would build, and then that would evolve, and then the thing that I threw out doesn't fit where they've ended up, so you reshape, and it's just a back and forward like that. And so a lot of the time, I guess, when North Queensland, right, when we're talking about this feeling of home, I'm not necessarily trying to create North Queensland. I'm trying to create the feeling of home. And so when you try to create something, you know what I mean? There's that feeling of like, well, you know, we're leaving home now, and it's not, well, you're not trying to recreate the actual sounds of the trip or whatever. You're trying to recreate a space that feels like that emotion you go through when you leave home. And then playing with the idea of like, well, you've just left home, and then with this weird thing that happens where you find home somewhere else away from where you've left, and then how you can show that again by referencing the first home sound that you created. So I guess that's kind of the idea as far as showing where we're moving to and from sound-wise. And yeah, I think, I can say spoilery things. You said I could do that.
Spoiler alert, coming.
No, well, it's not really, but like, you know, things to look out for is like, as far as a literal place and a sound, I think that only happens maybe one time in the entire, so this over hour-long show, we're only actually doing that conventional theatre sort of move maybe once in this piece where it's, you know, oh, we're here. And that's, and I think it has a really kind of strong impact when we use something like that really scarcely. It really does ground you for a second, and you find it's a really good sort of... I like what that moment is when the boys sort of all end up in the same place at the same time for the first time in the show. And yeah, that's kind of, you know, you're trying to make that feel separate from everything else, you know, when you do certain moves like that. And yeah. Does that...
That's excellent.
Yeah,
and there's
nice.
also some absolute bangers in there as well, as a little bit of a spoiler as well. There's definitely some good party tunes. And great to hear about the collaboration of how you've been, you know, working on the floor and kind of just interacting as the rehearsals are going on. Speaking of rehearsals, Isaac, you've been on board the last few months helping shape Tibian and Lenny's writing. Can you tell us a bit about your vision in bringing their words and these stories to life and that collaboration?
Yeah, of course I can. Look, I came on board. It must have been 2 years ago. I think I remember sitting in a hotel room in quarantine in Cairns. Had a balcony and a great view. It wasn't too bad actually, but I think I remember coming on board and talking with you fellas at that point about the potential about coming on board, because you fellas wanted to move this work from it being a sort of a dance piece and start to utilise text and tell story and use different types of forms to be able to communicate your ideas. And so we've really been sort of chipping away at this work over those last couple of years, and I was just so impressed. I've been impressed by Lenny and Tibbs and their talent as performers for many years now. But what they wanted to say was really important, and I actually haven't heard the sort of third. How old are you fellas? Do you mind sharing? 28, 29, 35?
30.
30? You 30?
29.
29. So this is a fresh perspective for me. I've heard from some older people like myself. I've heard my story, and I've heard some other stories. that come from another generation, but I haven't heard this story before. I haven't heard this story from this generation. And they look at the world completely different to me. And they probably look at the world a lot differently to a lot of folk here. I mean, I imagine most of you are over 40 in the audience here. Few. But this really, it was really an eye-opener. It was just an eye-opener for me, Fee, to go, shit, this is the way that these young guys view the world. And like these people, they talk about their feelings. Like they actually open up and they'll talk to each other and they'll be like vulnerable in front of each other. And that's something that's not practiced in my generation. But, you know, these fellas wanted to be able to, they really want to be able to show a different side, a much more complex and accurate side to manhood. Whether that be white fella manhood or black fella manhood, just manhood. And that's what really drove me to this project. And that's what drove Queensland Theatre to programming this work, is that we knew we had to have this voice on our stage this year. We knew that we had to have it from local voices, from Murri men. And it's been incredible. It's been an incredible journey for me. I've learnt so much. I've learnt so much working with these fellas, and I'm really excited to support them in any way that I can as an older theatre maker, and support them to be able to tell their stories. And that's the job. That's the job of you know, not only a sort of person who's in a privileged position like myself as a director, but I also run the First Nations side of the company now, and so you know, it's a privilege. It's a privilege, my younger brothers, to be able to work with yous on this work and, you know, support yous in any way that I can. I hope that answers your question. I usually offer the very long version of these answers. You'll get to know me.
It's great, and it's great to hear, you know, about the connection and the collaboration and who's learning from who, actually. And other collaborations that we've had here, Wanaka and Isaac and Tibian, you all worked together on 37, and we heard before that through Excelsior, you know, the boys started this work as a dance-based piece, and now Wanaka's been brought in as choreographer. Are we going to be expecting some more mesmerising and incredible, you know, physical storytelling pieces? Can you tell us a bit about that collaboration and that process, please, Wanaka?
Gladly. Yes, more mesmerising movement to come. Body poetry Check. All over the place. So I'm, really excited to be involved with Dear Brother, especially after working on 37 with Isaac and Tibian. Such a fun process, working and bouncing ideas with Isaac, and you know, Dear Brother really spoke to me, you know, as a man, as a brother, as a father, as a son, and really excited to bring this story to life in terms of movement. It was, you know, Excelsior coming from a dance, sort of. The story came from a dance place, but, you know, dance has always been able to convey a feeling or a mood or say what text can't. And so, you know, investigating and creating a palette, a language with Isaac and the men has been a lot of fun. Having connections myself to far northern Queensland, and, you know, closely related in with the Chabakai. A lot of these, the cassowary is one of the creatures that we are bringing to life, and Bundara, the Jitty Jitty, the Willy Wagtail. So there's investigating and looking into the totems and creating this language and peppering it throughout. But, you know, Isaac came to me with some great ideas and concepts of, where, the beginnings of time and the beginnings of humankind, and it's been a lot of fun exploring that with the men as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a sort of there's a deep spirituality to this work, isn't there? And I mean, it really comes. It does come from like the creatives with this work as well. Because I think what we do is we always know that we have, you know, however many thousands of years of knowledge and performing and storytelling and stories and story techniques that we can draw from. And I certainly in my work, I always look at how it is I can draw from those storytelling values and techniques and apply them to my work every day when I come into the theatre. And I think that's what's really exciting about this piece, is that this is what Lenny and Tibbs have brought to us. They've gone, hey, we want to work with dance, we want to work with movement, we want to work with song, we want to work with story and text. And it's all of these elements, all of these communication devices that our mobs have been using for millennia. And this is something that we're now drawing from and fusing in a contemporary space, like a theatre.
Yeah. Now, start to think of your questions. I've got one more to ask Delvine up here, and then I'm going to open out to you. So warm up your hands so I know where you are if you've got questions. Delvine, creating costumes that connect to this work and that are on heavily physical bodies. A lot of movement in this work. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and about the concepts behind the costumes for this work?
Sure. If I could just take it back a little bit further, I'm a mum of 3 young men in their teens and early 20s, and they've grown up most of their life on Stradbroke Island. And what I loved doing was making sure that they also connected with those on the mainland and took them to festivals, and some of those festivals would see Excelsior. So at Blues Fest would have been around 2014, so when you were like 18 or 19. So, you know, I had that in mind, the costuming that they were wearing then, their tights or trackies and a sash. And so when Ari and Isaac reached out and said, hey, you know, we saw the work that you did last year, would you be interested in working on this production with Lenny and Tibian and Benjen? I was like, oh my gosh, of course I'd love to. It was that instant connection, and knowing that I, you know, understood their background and the impact that they've had on my own sons, who are also on stages in different ways. So you've completely led the way for this next generation. So what I had to think about was, that's where I started, the Excelsior costumes in my mind, until I started reading the script, and then I had to think about what it meant to have this, from this creation to this contemporary lifestyle. And so I was able to bring in my own arts practice in that space with my screen printing and using the colour that I would normally work with, and that is this like copper on black, and it really spoke to what I feel, this like this spark, and that's what is on stage, this spark in the way that they are created. And so had to think about, how do we carry that through from creation through to their lives as they move into the city. And so what I'd love you to look out for is some of those sparks through the rest of the costuming as they present in their contemporary form.
Awesome. What an incredible background to connect in with these artists and have that coming with you, Delvine. That's incredible. Did you guys know that? All of these things happening live in front of you. Okay, thank you all of you for answering my warm-up questions, and hopefully that's got some things mulling around in all of your minds. Are there any questions out in our audience? Reminding that I will repeat the question into the microphone before getting someone to answer into a microphone. Over here.
To the gentlemen who are the co-creators, I suspect that there have been events going first-hand or second-hand by family or friends. Can you both give us an example of one of those events that's given rise to the plot of what we will see in the next week or so?
Thank you for that question. So the question was, Lenny and Tibian, the co-writers, our question asker suspects that there are events that have happened in your life that may have contributed, either first-hand or second-hand, that may have contributed to things happening in the work. Are there examples you're happy to share that have ended up on stage that are true to you?
I'd say, well, the first thing is, yes, the characters are somewhat based on myself and Leonard. Two of them are, and it's they I think for me it's like the obviously just where they're from, and then also one of Jazz's character. So it's based on no, not Jazz's character. Yeah. No. My character. Sorry, sorry. All these characters. My character. His relationship with his brother is somewhat close to myself and my brother, in terms of that storyline, and it's kind of bits and pieces. So each character has bits and pieces of me and myself and Leonard's experiences ourselves, but also our own family members' experiences as well. So it's kind of, yeah, all the characters have little bits and pieces of it all splattered out everywhere to kind of make this one character. I think that because when we tried it, I think we tried at one point to make this character about myself or make this about Leonard. And it's kind of myself and Leonard coming from far north Queensland, him in Kuranda, myself in Townsville. They're very close, and our song lines in terms of our mobs are different, but our song lines, they cross roads at paths. So a lot of our connections are there, and a lot of the experiences as well is very similar. So we kind of just went, this stuff can go here for this character, and he can have that trouble, and he have that trouble, and we just there's drama, and kind of just went with that. That's. You got any more?
Yeah. So like Tibian was saying, the characters are kind of interweaved with both myself, Tibian story, but also using stories from our friends and our families, mixing them all together to create these characters. If I had to give an example for maybe one of the characters, I would say it would be maybe one of the relationships between Ezra and Grandad, for the fact that Grandad wants Ezra to kind of go out and become his own man in a sense. So it's definitely interweaved throughout the entire work on not just myself, but also the experiences of all the other brotherhoods that we created with our friends and our families, all mixed into these characters to create a wonderful story and journey for you guys to love and watch.
Can I reframe that question a little bit and just ask, like, what fire is in you? Like, what's the fire in you that wants you to tell story and theatre and have a platform to have a voice? Like, was there a moment in your life where you went, yeah, I need to do this. I need to become a theatre maker?
Besides
that you want to share, because sometimes that can be really personal as well. What drives us as theatre makers?
I think for me it was just obviously being. For me, it was like getting. I'll say I'm getting older, but I wanted to also expand on my creativity and also what exactly and also storytelling is. I wanted to have a different way of storytelling. Usually I'm just the actor or just the dancer, and also just wanted to go, you know what, because I honestly didn't want to be in this show. I just wanted to help write it and then just watch it. But Isaac kind of forced that. I mean, no. Hey.
The truth is coming out.
He made a good. He made a real. Very good argument for it. Is like, this is your story. You have to be the ones to tell it. And I think, like, going back on your question, I think the stuff that we talk about, I think the mental health parts of things is one thing for myself that I grew up that kind of made me want to do more, do better for myself and so I can break the chain of stuff, like, you know, mental health stuff happening back home in Townsville for my friends and my family. So I wanted to kind of, and one thing is for this show too is pathways, and I guess for all of us really was making pathways for our families and our younger cousins or brothers or sisters to kind of follow, and children as well, to help, you know, just to create pathways and Lenny.
For myself, I guess it's making my family and my community proud of what I am doing. When I was in high school, I actually created a short film which was known as Gurra Gurra Boomba, Ancestors Land, which focused on the traditional dance group that was at the school. And that kind of birthed into a life of its own, where I actually got the elders of the community involved to talk about their life and their journeys growing up on Mona Mona Mission. That's the mission that was up there that a lot of the family lived and grew up on. So I think that was my first kind of step into creating and making storytelling, and just looking at the characteristics of people as well. I naturally mimic people in a sense. So I guess looking at the characteristics and knowing the stories of the people that's around me, and it's interesting to find out those stories and try and bring them to life. So taking the characteristics of, let's say, Granddad again, it's, you know, partially based on multiple of my grandfathers who helped push me to become the man I am today as well. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, guys. It's incredible to see those pathways that you are forging and that you will be gifting to the younger generation, and hopefully anyone who is super keen to come and join the performing arts. Have we got any more? Yes, up here.
This is sort of a follow-on comment and question. That it seems to me that it's relatively unusual for people to be writing a play and then it be the right age to perform in the play, especially when it's a new, young story. You know, you quite often find actors have gone on to write plays, but then they're standing back as directors or some other role. Is that unusual? Isaac, can you comment on that?
Just to repeat the question for the camera, the comment and the question is, it seems unusual that the performers are both writing the play as young writers and performing in it, as opposed to being performers who have gone on to write later. And the question is to Isaac going, is that uncommon?
Yeah, look, it's not common. It's not common, but it's not uncommon either. There's certainly been a sort of body of work out there where, you know, the writers have also performed in the work. But I would just say that it's incredibly brave to do so. I mean, there was a fellow at Queensland Theatre, I directed the show called City of Gold a while ago. WIHT, his name was, and he wrote that show, and that was really largely based on his own experiences. And for him to be able to sort of have the courage to be able to tell that story was incredible. Incredible act of generosity, I think, and a moment in time for him to, I suppose, to be able to express what was going on in his life and share that with a live audience. Like, I wouldn't do it, you know. I wouldn't do it. I sit behind the curtain in the director's chair. But it's a really, I just think, look, it's the reason to have a voice. It's because a lot of young Aboriginal males feel like they don't have a voice in this country. So these actors, Aboriginal theatre comes from activists. It was born through activism back in the 70s. His grandfather, my father-in-law, Bob Mazza, is regarded as the grandfather of theatre, but he was an activist before he was a theatre maker. You've got these characters like Gary Foley, who's a big-time activist down in Victoria as well, another theatre maker, and they recognise the power of theatre and that, you know, you can actually have a voice and people will sit there and listen to you. You know, they won't cut you off. They, you know, and it's unedited. It was uncensored and unedited because they wrote and they directed the work themselves. But that's why I suppose actors have this sort of fire in them. Storytellers have this fire in them, and they really want their story to be told. And so they're brave enough to take that extra step and not only write the work but perform the work themselves. So. Incredibly brave, gents. Incredibly brave.
And dare I suggest that there aren't a significant amount of existing scripts that speak to you and your experience, so perhaps having to write them and perform in them is the way forward. Lucky you've got a great person like Isaac looking after First Nations Theatre in Queensland, hey? Next question. Yes.
I'm just curious, we are all males. The previous play was going to be 7 females. And I wonder why have you approached girls to give their perspective of the storytelling? And I'm intrigued that now we have all males on this, but no females in it at all to give their slant.
Just to repeat the question for the camera, the comment was the last work was supposed to be 7 women on stage and this work will be all men on stage. The question is, have women been approached for their perspective, and what's the decision in having all men on stage? Tibbs and Lenny, do you want to try and hit that one?
I can certainly jump in if you like, gentlemen. Look, yeah, I think that's that's partly a programming question, the Queensland Theatre. Look, certainly the last show that I directed here, 37, had 10 men in it, and I know that Lee Lewis, the ex-artistic director here, needed to balance out the season. So making sure that there was strong female presence and strong female voice at the company was really important. With this particular story, yes, absolutely. Look, I know that Tibian in particular, Tibian has always been sort of reaching out for the female perspective for this work. Look, my conversations that I've had with Tibian over the last sort of year and a half is that this is a men's story. And there is such a thing as men's business and women's business when it comes down to cultural practice. And we don't need the permission of a woman to be able to tell this story. This is men's business. And what you're going to see is once again, a hugely generous performance from these men that will show vulnerability like you've never seen before on stage, and maybe not off stage either. So we really needed to create an environment and a space here where we as First Nations men could feel absolutely safe amongst each other and comfortable amongst each other, but knowing full well that this is our story and only our story to tell. There's certainly other opportunities for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander women to tell their stories, but this is one of those stories that just needed to be told by us.
And I also think because of the kind of the other topics we were looking at as well was intergenerational trauma, but also toxic masculinity, but also medicinal masculinity as well. So how is it that we as men heal ourselves and bring ourselves together to show that vulnerability and able to heal without a woman present as well. Sometimes it's only just things that men can understand as well. So.
Did you want to just touch on really briefly? Sorry, Delvin, I see you want to jump in there. But did you want to just touch on the reason why you wanted to include the mother's voice in this work?
Yeah, for me it was at first it was we wanted to have that presence of a female voice around, and then you know, after doing a few of the developments and the writing, we went, you know, we all have different connections, different relationships with the women in our lives and how we were raised, and you know, I think it was the thing that us coming together and going, you know what, this is how my mother was, or this is how my sister is, or you know, I have my sister's 1 year older than me. She used to always beat me up, like like, you know, but that's just a thing because that's just like, not in a bad way, but that's us fighting as siblings. But she now, you know, she's one of my biggest protectors, and you know, it was that thing of how we see our mothers or our grandmothers, you know, wanting to show their respect for them, and through again, like Mazza was saying, Benjamin was saying, the world that you're going to see is through our eyes, and how we held our female women in our lives, and how the connections we had to them, and how important they were to us, or are still now important to us, whilst retelling this story at the moment as well. You know, I'm constantly going back and forth with my mother about the show, who's going to come see it, and it's, you know, it's that kind of thing of the voices are still there. Like, for me, I believe the voices of the women in my life is there in this show. It's coming through me, coming out of through my spirit. So yeah, that's kind of, I think. Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous. Thanks, Tibbs. Delphine, did you have something you wanted to add?
It was about that, about embodying mum, and that she's coming through really powerfully.
Yeah, there's definitely a female voice in the work. It is there for sure.
Yeah, it was like the voices, like the presence of mum is there. When you see it, you definitely feel it. But also not only through us, it's also through, again, like Wanago was saying as well, through totem. So grandmother's in there too. She comes through as a totem, through the totem as the willy wagtail. So her and granddad still have their relationship. You can see the relationship they have, and how just with the smallest amount of information that we give you, you know what kind of relationship that is that they had, that the loving of it, the cheekiness of it, like you will feel it within that, just within. Not only through the acting, but through the sound from Brandon, through the what else is it? Through everything, really, through all pieces, the movement, the direction, the lighting, the set, like it all comes together. They all play together because there's so little stuff that we have here, but it all comes together and all makes that one kind of the story. Here, being alive.
Yeah, there's very clear imagery through the work, and you're all working incredibly hard to define beautiful, distinct moments for a lot of the characters that we don't see embodied on the stage. We've probably only got time for a couple more questions. Over here.
We don't work because we are volunteers for EB, Ethnic Radio, Imagine, and we have an arts and culture program for the Spanish community. We love coming to the theatre, reviewing, talking to you, bringing your stories to the broader community. And considering the cultural diversity of Brisbane, how translatable do you think your stories are? Because we see a universal as people who come from a different background, and we're in this city as well. For us, it's very clear. No? How do you see that? And also, what would you like? Or do you see different cultural diversity in your audience?
Yeah,
so
just to repeat it for the camera, some team from for EB, Ethnic Radio, talking about a Spanish radio channel, and the question was around the diversity on stage and whether the diversity on stage and the story is completely transferable and translatable to a broad audience, including people from other countries and other cultures. And then the second part of the question was...
Normally we are the only
and how diverse are our audiences. So let's start with the first part of that question around transferability, translatability, accessibility of the story and the work to all different audiences. Do you want to hit this one, Isaac?
Yeah, love to. I'll jump over to Benjamin in a moment. But hello, how are you? I met you after 37. I remember having a good chat with you. Thanks for coming, and thanks for your question too. Yes. One of the things that we wanted to be able to do with this work is dance. Dance is usually quite an abstract form. I don't know about you fellas, but whenever I go along and see a contemporary dance piece, I don't really know what's going on. It looks amazing. It looks amazing. It looks beautiful. It's pretty. The lights are great, etc., etc. But I don't know what's going on. I didn't want that to be with this work. I wanted us to be able to have access points to this work all through it. And a lot of the way that we communicate with, look, I don't exactly know what the stats are here, but I know that it's something like 95% of the way that we receive information is visual. The rest, it's body language. The rest is a little bit of language. The rest is a bit of smell and a bit of touch, those other senses. And this was really some of the conversations that I've had with these fellows for quite some time have been about how we can make it accessible and how we're able to bring repetitive movement language and create motifs for this work that support the story, but that the text and the story gives us enough context to be able to understand why they're moving and why they're moving in that way. In regards to diversity, we are looking at Yirindi Fala, we're looking at Gurame, we're looking at Jaboganji, we're looking at Meriam, Wick. We're looking at all of these cultures on stage here, and if you look really carefully, each of them moves in a completely different way. Watch when they walk off, you'll see. No, but they really do, and I know that Monica's been working with them to draw out the to draw out their individual signatures. Each of them moves in a different way that has been shaped from thousands of generations of how their grandfathers have moved and danced. So they're bringing their own cultural dance to this work, as well as contemporary movement. Look, I'm gonna just, I can bang on. I can bang on. There's so much to talk about. And I'm just going to say I'm so excited to bring this work to audiences at Queensland Theatre. We have not seen anything like this at Queensland Theatre before, never. And look, it might not be a new form of storytelling for us, but it is a new form of storytelling for our audiences. Benjamin.
In terms of relatability for anyone that's going to come and see this show, I think Lenny and Tibbs have written it in a way, and the relationships to each other and to their old people or to their fathers or brothers or sisters, mothers, I think anyone can relate to that. They can look at Kelton on stage portraying dad and be like, you could sit there and be like, oh, that's my dad. Because I remember reading through the script and going through it, and I'm like, I could relate to him. Like, that's my dad. I feel like anyone could see themselves, in that lens. But the only difference is it's coming from, our vision, or that, the brother's vision here. And I'm also touching on there's moments in the show where I think we've all felt times that we're alone, or that there's no one else that we can fall back onto, but there's like a higher source or whatever that we can grasp to that keeps us going and to keeps us telling that story, or to keep, pressing on with whatever we have to do, whether it's day to day or if it's, life-changing. But yeah, I think the relationships is really a strong point that I feel like people will definitely relate to.
Sorry, and yes. I mean, you can take a look around, and yes, a lot of our audience at Queensland Theatre are non-Indigenous audiences. Yeah, we're doing a community night on the 7th of September, and we're partnering with BlakDance, who's a co-producer on the work as well. And so between us and our contacts and our email lists, we're going to sell this place out on community night, and hopefully we can make our audiences at Queensland Theatre a bit more diverse. As we go, and it's really important that we continue to program works that are diverse, because people actually want to come and see themselves and their stories represented on stage.
100% agree, and I think when you all see it, you will find through the movement, through the text and through their remarkable performances that there is incredible amounts of relatability regardless of language. I think as well, partnering with our good friends at Brisbane Festival helps this work be pushed even further than our Queensland Theatre audiences. We get, the extra exposure of being partnered with a major festival so that more people can know about this incredible work. And it is a work that will resonate deeply, I think, with anyone who has a connection to a family member. That's the connection you will find. And I think that point before that you made about forgiveness, I think that will resonate when you see the work as well, and I don't think you'll need language to feel that and to see that on stage. So I hope that gives you a good summary, and you can share with your incredible Spanish audiences and for all of you to share the work. I think I have time for one remaining question over here. Hello.
It's not actually a question, but I'm interested in what Delvine said about her sons and how she was inspired with the costume, because yesterday I was at Delvine's fashion gallery on Stradbroke and saw her amazing fabric made into high fashion. So it's such a range that she has to go from like fashion to the theatre world. So I'm just interested that how you were inspired and that there's such a range that you do.
Thank you. So it's a comment that coming back to Delvine's comment about her son, seeing her sons be inspired by Excelsior, because this patron was at Delvine's gallery and shop, I assume over on Minjerribah, yesterday, and saw incredible artwork by Delvine that had been made into, I imagine, some textile work that had been made into high fashion, and just interested in the incredible range coming from visual art, fashion, and now into theatre design and costume design. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Delvine?
It's a very different way of working, and you guys work incredibly hard. I'm amazed at how much time and effort and the connection with each other. And so for me to be brought into that space, I have to consider more than just my own wild ideas. I have to consider how does that move on stage, and really it's a snippet of what I do that's in here. So with those contemporary garments, it's really about who they are and the role that they play in their jobs, and so I had to consider what that looked like. So they're contemporary garments with parts of my hand-printed, screen-printed fabrics. And what I've loved about working in this team is that Nat's there, and then also Tracy, who's back of house, sewing, so I really didn't have to get too much of my hands dirty. I just had to screen print and think about the way that the movement of especially when they were dancing, what does it look like when they're low, what is it, so I had to consider what was that like, and it was just a very different way for me to work. So I'm just pleased that I was able to get part of what I do into this space.
We're looking forward to seeing how those costumes move, Delphine. We have rapidly run out of time, but I feel like if you don't already have tickets to Dear Brother, you should get them. We preview on Saturday the 7th with our community night that has exactly 0 tickets left. It is sold out. I believe oversubscribed is the word I heard today. We open on Thursday the 12th of September and run through till the end of September till the 28th. Before we go, we need to draw our lucky door prize. Tibbs and Lenny, do you want to choose one each? And we have a lost item, Elizabeth Davis. I have your possession in my possession, and I will return it to you. We'll meet at the box office out the front to return this to you. Lenny and Tibian, would you like to draw one each? We have 2 prizes this evening. This one being drawn by Tibian is for a $300 Epic Hair Designs voucher, and it's number... Thanks, Ben.
Oh, it's me. No. Black ticket C66.
Black ticket C66. If you are, yes, up the back there. If you can meet Gracie down the front at reception to collect that incredible Epic Hair voucher, that $300 is going to go a long way. It's going to be a lot of haircuts. And now to draw our Clovelly Estate gift hamper. Lenny, what's our number? Drum roll, Benji.
Black C83.
Black C83. Who's one?
We got a bingo! We got a bingo!
Excellent.
Hey.
If the prize winners could please meet Gracie at the front reception with the Elizabeth Davies purse as well. Also, for those of you, after you see Dear Brother in the next few weeks, don't forget we have Round the Twist the Musical on at QPAC from the 12th of November, our final show for 2024. And just a little heads up, keep your eyes peeled. On the 25th of September, we will be launching our 2025 season. Subscribers, if you haven't got an email yet, you'll be getting one soon. Keep your eyes peeled. Thank you to all of you for joining us here tonight. We look forward to seeing you at Dear Brother in the next little while. See you back here soon. Get home safely. Take care of one another.